They had told me.
Oh my
for-
God.
Because,
Lisa will be here.
Keeping the animals
you know,
So,
they
but
haven't
we
trained.
may need a temporary.
Some
Okay.
of those dogs, like,
You want to do
I've
it?
got, yeah, I've got the sheet,
Well-
so.
what are the police dogs?
Kenny,
Shepherds.
yes.
They get jumped up.
Lisa may be late too, so.
Yes. Yes.
James volunteered.
He volunteered for clerk?
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice.
We'll make a few motions right here at 7.
Sounds good.
I'll do the roll call and all that good
Yeah.
stuff.
Awesome.
Okay, 7 o'clock.
Call the meeting to order.
Sorry. Call the meeting to order with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do the roll call. Oh, I'm sorry.
First.
Nope.
First, we gotta have a temporary supervisor.
I'll make a motion to appoint Trustee Smith as temporary supervisor.
Support.
Is there any other nominations? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
And I'll make a motion that Trustee Thering is the temporary clerk.
I support.
Any other nominations? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Next, we have approval of the agenda.
I move to approve the agenda.
Support.
Did you have any?
Roll call. But we can
Yeah.
finish this.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Shoot.
I'm sorry.
It's okay, man. You're just temporary.
Okay. Okay, so we have a motion and a support on approval of the agenda. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
Okay.
Roll call, please.
Roll call. Supervisor Milky is excused. Clerk Cody will be here shortly. Treasurer Rice.
Here.
Trustee Bills.
Here.
Trustee Brown.
Here.
Trustee Smith.
Here.
Trustee Thering is here.
Thank you very much. Presentations, is there any presentations tonight? Okay. There is no public hearings. Next, I'll open up to public comment. It'll be restricted to 3 minutes regarding items on this agenda. So public comment is open at 7:02.
There's nobody on Zoom.
Nobody on Zoom and nobody here wishes to speak, so we'll close public hearing at 7:02. We have no closed session. We've got, next is reports and boards comments. Appointment is needed in the absence of Supervisor Milky. We will pass that. And then we will go to the March monthly activity report.
In the
That's in your packet. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have on that report. It begins on page 7 of your agenda packet.
Is there any questions for the
No.
manager? Okay, thank you. Next, we will have updates with the Planning Commission, EDA, ZBA, by the Community and Economic Development Director, Mr. Nanny.
Thank you. It's going to be a fairly short report. We did not have a zoning board of appeals meeting. There were no agenda items for them. We had a scheduled economic development authority board meeting, but we did not have a quorum present, so that was a very short meeting. The planning commission did meet on the 19th. They had 3 items of business. The first one was election of officers. The March meeting is the meeting per their bylaws where officers are elected. The chair, vice chair, secretary are the same. Mr. Squatrigo and Mr. Buckley and Mr. Liddell were re-elected to those posts, and Commissioner Lapp was elected as our new vice secretary. The Planning Commission also reviewed the proposed private road ordinance. There was some pretty extensive discussion on it. They did decide to postpone action. So their action to postpone action on our recommendation is reflected in your agenda tonight, in the private road item that's on your agenda. Their intention is to take it up and finish their review during their April meeting, April 16th. And the last item on their agenda was a discussion of topics for the upcoming joint meeting in April. They did have a discussion on that, and they are meeting again before, they meet the day before our joint meeting. So their intention is to wrap that discussion up on April 16th. Those were the items on the Planning Commission agenda. Happy to answer any questions you may have about that.
I'm all set.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you, Rodney.
All set, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda, we have board member reports. Trustee Brown?
Yeah, so I'll make this very quick. I went to the March 25th Mount Pleasant City Commission meeting, and there was a report on the EMS, MMR, and fire service. Check it out online, thorough report.
Was that when they had the outside entity come in
Yes.
and did a full analysis of the runs, their cost, and?
Full analysis.
Okay.
And I apologize, my notes are in my briefcase. My briefcase is in my office because it had a great rundown of UT and Mount Pleasant, and I had all of it written down. I can report on it next meeting if want, but I do not have those notes in front of me. But it is a great report. Check it out. It's online.
If I have a question for the manager on this one, is this the report that we were waiting for on the contract with the fire department to see? Because I think this year was just kind of a placeholder. Was this the report that you were waiting for?
And I apologize, I did not catch what Trustee Brown was referring to.
There was the report on the fire runs that the head for the city of Mount Pleasant?
Yeah, the third entity that came in and did the full analysis for MMR and the fire service for the city of Mount Pleasant, broke down all the runs, gave recommendations, things like that. It was
Okay.
a full
And
report.
That is the report that we're waiting on.
Okay.
I have not reviewed it yet with the city manager.
Okay.
And in the meantime, we did have a 1-year fire service contract executed
Okay.
late in '23 to cover 2024.
Okay. Thank you. I thought that's the one that we were waiting on.
And they had good reports, so it was a good report. But yeah, check it out online. I apologize, I just don't have my notes in front of me here. I'd be much more thorough on it.
Trustee Bills.
I have nothing to report.
Okay, it's been an interesting couple of weeks with the county. First of all, at the regular March 19th meeting, their big thing was they had the audit report done. So there was a presentation on the fiscal year that ended in '23 on that. So they went over all the minutia details on the audit report. Obviously, that was before everything happened. So it was a healthy fund balance and everything at that point, but obviously things have happened since then. So they went through all that. They went through their 2% request. Then they had the special meeting yesterday, and I have a full page of notes here. And instead of going through it all, I just want to point out is that they started off with the discussion of a zero-based budget, and here's the mandated departments. So we have to fund this department and this department, this department to minimal levels. So they went through all the mandates and said, this is how much money we have left over for non-mandated functions. So they didn't make any hard decisions, but it was more of an open discussion. So the administrator controller went through all that with the board, and there was probably, I would say 20, 25 people there in attendance for this. The TV5 News was there. I thought it was very well kind of rolled out, explaining getting the mandated departments done first so that the public understands, if it's not mandated, it's obviously has to be looked at. Nobody likes to lose public safety, but I thought it was well done. And if you get a chance, it's on YouTube, I believe. And so I would look it over. It was for a 2-hour meeting, went really fast and was very informative. So I don't envy them in their position that they're at. And so wait and see. And then their next meeting is next Tuesday, where I think they will start having more concrete discussions on actual funding. There was talk about can they approve the budget early? Was there something in the budgeting act that would prevent that? They were gonna look into it. But that way, if you're gonna make cuts, approve the budget early, so that way you can give those affected employees a longer time to find. So I thought that was, a wise, thoughtful decision. But again, I don't know what exactly doing. That was just all discussions, and I'm not speaking of anything in confidentiality because it was an open meeting. So, but it was, it's really sad to see it, but something that they're in and they have to go forward. So that's it from the county. Is there any questions on that? Treasurer Rice?
We have settled with the county, and so all the personal property stays here. Everything else goes to the county. So those that were delinquent go to the county to pay them. Personal property will stay here. So those that have that and are delinquent will come to me, and we'll hopefully get those to pay here. So other than that,
Thank you.
you don't get me hounding you, unless you're delinquent for a while. So.
Trustee Thering?
Really, I guess nothing other than the planning commission, we did have quite a discussion on the private road ordinance. Mr. Nanny was very good about answering our questions, and I think we were thinking we might formulate some more. So before we gave a recommendation, we just wanted to discuss it again. So I appreciate the adjustment to the schedule on this ordinance before we accept it as an ordinance. Thank you.
Okay, next up is consent agenda.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Got a motion and support. Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same. Motion carries. Thank you. Next up is new business. A, discussion of the second reading of the proposed private road ordinance, and I will hand it off to Manager Stuhldreher.
Thank you and good evening, everybody. There's a report on this item that begins on page 23 of your agenda item, and the action that we're requesting to be held tonight is to conduct the second reading of the proposed private road ordinance. And as has been mentioned, we did want to receive some input from the Planning Commission. So tonight's action is just confining itself to the second reading. There's not a request of the board to act on adopting the ordinance at this time. The just a bit of background, the current private road ordinance was adopted in December of 2000. The memo, there's been some updates between the first reading and tonight's reading with regard to the ordinance, and I'll just run through those things that are in your report as well. Section 4 was updated to provide some clarifications as it relates to renaming private roads and to establish a process to do that. Section 7 was clarified. Section 7 speaks to the to special assessments as a way of funding maintenance to private roads. We also have our own internal special assessment policy and process that is applicable to private roads, and we wanted to make sure those two, or I'm sorry, that's applicable to public roads, and we wanted to make sure those two did not conflict. So we reviewed that and provided some clarification in that section. Section 10 was eliminating the 365-day waiting period for reapplication after a denial. And then 12 and 13 were clarifications of some terms used throughout the ordinance to make sure that all the terminology is consistent. And also in your memo, I won't go over it, but there were a couple questions asked at the last meeting having to do with the appeal process and the use of escrow deposits and performance guarantees. You'll find responses to those questions in your packet. That's all I have. Again, we're just asking that you conduct a second reading, and I'd be happy to answer any questions. We also have Director Nandy here tonight that could answer questions as well.
Does the board have any questions? Trustee Theron?
I do, and I'll make this as painless as possible. It was just a thought that I had. It's in regards to section 15, the inspections. It references a township engineer and an applicant engineer. I'm assuming that the township engineer would supersede the applicant engineer. So if there was a disagreement with how something was done, and let's say the township engineer didn't agree it was done properly, would that mean that the township engineer would supersede the applicant engineer?
If I understand your question, I believe that answer would be yes.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. There's certain components of the ordinance that speak to standards of the private road, and that those plans that are required comport with the ordinance. They're reviewed by our engineer. Of course, the original plans are going to be drafted by the applicant's engineer. And this also, I think, begins to get into some of your enforcement questions, or somebody's enforcement questions last meeting. At the end of the day, the township issues a permit, and we feel that the requirements in the ordinance are very clear, somewhat simple, if you will, clear, and so we don't anticipate the need for appeals, and there isn't an opportunity to reapply if it is denied.
I kind of thought, based on the reading, and I agree with everything that you just said, I was just thinking out loud to myself today, is why would there be a need for an applicant's engineer? Because if in the end, the requirements for the road are what they are. No different than if somebody were to come to Mr. Nanny about wanting to build something, and you have to follow the ordinances. So if they are what they are, the township engineer ultimately has the final say in the.
The township has the final say in issuing the permit.
Right, but the engineer, the township has an engineer
Yes.
that is going to say, yeah, everything's good. So why wouldn't we maybe try to help the applicant and not ask them to have an engineer? Because if in the end of the day, they have to pay for two engineers. Yeah. So why don't we just have them pay for one engineer? It's cut and dry as far as what they have to do to make their road.
Well, they have to also submit plans, and I'll, again, if I believe I understand what you're asking, where you're going. The zoning code, for instance, has requirements for a site plan. We may think those are pretty clear too, but we don't draw the site plan.
No.
And so the applicant's engineer is going to initially put together the plan that they're looking to have a permit approved for.
So it would be just like the building official oversees what the building plan is, but it's drawn up by an engineer or architect.
Yeah, and we
So it's kind of
review
that same thing.
Right, but a building could be done many different ways, provided it follows the
But there
ordinance.
could also
a
be
road has to be so many feet.
But a road would also have the contours. It'd also have to have everything else, drainage and everything else put in, which I think would take up a significant amount of time for the township engineer
It would cost
to
them
have to
just
do
a bunch
that.
of more.
So that's what I think could happen. It's not just going to be a straight road. They'd have to figure in contours and everything else, and that's why I think you'd be very hesitant to have the township bear that cost.
Well, they don't bear the cost anyway.
Well,
We don't even want to draw up the plan.
Yeah, you don't.
see.
You want to just stay.
Well, I mean, the applicant has to pay for. I see, but if I'm reading this right, though, the taking a step back, the applicant has to pay for the township engineer, even though all they're doing is an overseeing. They're overseeing.
Yeah,
Okay.
Through the fee structure.
through the fee structure.
And I would like to make sure I haven't misspoke. Mr. Nanny, do you have anything to add to this discussion?
I can. This is similar to, I mentioned building construction. This is similar to building official inspecting a building that's under construction, subject to a building permit that we issue. The builder is let's say it's a commercial building. The builder has a commercial license from the state of Michigan to conduct his business. The various contractors have their state licenses. And essentially what that builder does is the builder will say to our building official, I have constructed this in compliance with the state construction code. And he's putting his own license on the line to say that. Then our building official simply goes out, reviews it, inspects it, verifies that yes, this has been constructed properly. It's similar here that the engineers also have a state license. And the line in the ordinance is the applicant's engineer shall certify to the township engineer before the final inspection that all the road improvements were made in accordance with the ordinance. That's the statement that Trustee Theron is referring to. And so essentially here, we're asking the applicant's engineer, who's been involved throughout the process, the applicant's engineer drew up the plans, the applicant's engineer is going to help guide the construction process, just as that licensed builder is guiding the construction process. Even though he may have people working for him, he's the one that his license is on the line if it's not constructed properly. So here that applicant's engineer is going to be helping to make sure that road gets constructed correctly per the plan. And so we're simply asking that engineer put his license on the line to certify, yep, what I've seen, this road has been constructed per the ordinance. And then our engineer goes out and verifies that. Frankly, the cost of our engineer going out and do that is this is not an even thing. The cost of our engineer going out and doing that is far less than the amount of cost that the applicant has to bear simply as part of the development process to have the professionals on site to ensure that the work was done appropriately. Just as that builder has a crew that he's paying who have expertise to build that building correctly, even though he's on the hook for it. You know, it's his license on the line. So that's what's going on here, is that we're asking for that applicant engineer to say that this was done correctly, is based on his own certification or license from the state. So it's not that they're paying two engineers, because they're two different things, just like the builder and our building official are doing two different jobs in the same environment.
So the building official for the township is not an engineer, correct?
When I'm talking about building official, I'm talking about building a building.
I know, I know,
Comparing
I'm kind of trying to,
Yeah.
we're gonna have a township engineer for a road, but do we have a township engineer for the building?
No,
If somebody were gonna
we have
build
a
a
building
building.
official who is trained and certified in the state building code. And in this case, our township engineer is trained and certified to be able to review the road improvement.
Okay.
So it's simply hiring the right expert
Okay.
to do the job.
Okay, thanks.
But again, you wouldn't want to have the township take liability for any of that, because then, 20 years down the road, if something was found wrong with it, then we'd have liability if we take over the liability of certifying it.
That's,
without
I mean, that's
another-
already in the ordinance, though,
Yeah.
that they don't take responsibility.
Right, but if we were to take place of their engineer, then we would have to have some liability.
Well, no, it's in the ordinance that they don't, even though the township, it's in there.
Well, I get that, but take that to court. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm not trying to argue that point. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm just saying, from the way I read it, that the township, regardless, isn't going to take responsibility, but I think I'm making that a bigger deal than it actually probably is. So,
Is there any other questions?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you.
Make a motion, conduct a second reading of the proposed private road ordinance.
support.
I have a motion and support to conduct the second reading of the proposed private road ordinance. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed the same. Motion carries. Thank you. Next up on new business is discussion, action for the Fox Meadows and Fox Meadows 2 subdivision certificate of validity and resolution number 1 approval. Manager Stuhldreher.
Thank you. There's a report on this item that begins on page 40 of your agenda packet. This is the second time this item has been in front of the board for, as part of the process. There's 15 steps to eventually approving a special assessment for the road work. Board action is probably required in 5 of those steps. The residents of the Fox Meadow Estate subdivision submitted an informal petition some time ago. Just as a reminder, the district would include Hunter's Trail, Meadow Drive, Stony Creek Lane, and Brittany Drive. At the November 2023 meeting, the Board of Trustees voted to proceed to the next steps, which is in front of you tonight. And that involved us creating a special or a formal petition form and process and mailing that all went out to the area residents there. And then the applicant leadership circulated that formal petition, brought that back to the township. That requires verification of both the signatures and that the properly signed petition for the property owners in the subdivision, that in the aggregate, the folks that are looking to have that work done meet or exceed 51%. That's what we're trying to verify, that 51% of the total front footage is being supported by the individual property owners. We received that petition back. That petition was reviewed for the signatures by the clerk's office, and from the linear footage perspective and property owner perspective from the assessor's office. That certificate of validity is in your packet. It's been signed by the supervisor. This resolution that's in front of you tonight does a few things. It acknowledges receipt of the certificate of validity by the board as prepared and presented by the supervisor. It acknowledges the township board, as a board now, accept the certificate of validity as opposed to just the supervisor accepting it. And it also directs the township manager to oversee the preparation of plans described in the describing the improvements, the location, the cost of those improvements. So if this is approved tonight, we would go and do that work. Once the cost estimates are received by the road commission, we'd be back in front of the board to consider a resolution tentatively approving your intention to make the improvements, designating the special assessment district, and setting times and dates for the first of at least 2 public hearings. So that's what's going on in the resolution before you tonight. Be happy to answer any questions you may have regarding this item.
Does the board have any questions?
Pretty straightforward.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the certificate of validity and adopt the Fox Meadows Estate and Fox Meadows Estates 2 subdivisions paving special assessment district resolution number 1 for the establishment of the paving special assessment district.
Support.
We have a motion and support. Is there any further discussion? If not, Clerk Cody, will we have a roll?
Treasurer Rice?
Yes.
Trustee Bills?
Yes.
Trustee Brown?
Yes.
Trustee Smith?
Yes.
Trustee Theron?
Yes.
Clerk Cody, yes. All yeses.
Thank you very much. Motion passes. Next up, item C is the American Rescue Plan State Revolving Fund Grant Agreement. Manager Steeldryer?
Thank you, and again, there's a report in your agenda packet that begins on page 46 of your, thank you, of your packet, and we're asking the board to consider approving the state revolving fund grant agreement that would be between the Charter Township of Union and the state of Michigan for the completion of water main, lead service replacement, water treatment plant upgrades, and source water activities. This is related to the grant that we were awarded in the amount of $10,985,000. And as part of this action, it would also then be naming Kim Smith, our Public Services Director, as the grant representative. The application for this revolving loan fund grant was initiated back in November of 2022 when we submitted an intent to apply. In October of 23, the township was notified that we'd been awarded this grant. The agreement period for the grant runs from March 3rd of 2021 and ends September 15th, 2026. That's important because the work that we've done leading up to this point, with the start date being in March of 2021, we can recoup those. Those become eligible expenses to be used by the grant monies. We have broken this project down into what we're referring to, and maybe the state and the industry refers to as divisions. This is to allow the township to better manage the project. It's quite big. We'll be able to segregate the project into 4 overall components with separate bid and construction contracts and administration at these division levels. Division A is referred to as water supply well development. That basically deals with construction of a type 1 production well. Division B has to do with water main transmission and extension. It's the raw water transmission between Isabella and Mission treatment plants. The water main extensions to provide a loop between Pigger Road and Broadway Road along Somerton. Division C is the treatment plant expansion over on Isabella Road to accommodate a filter room, large iron removal filter, high service pump, and those various pipings and accessories that would be related to that. And Division D is the lead service line identification and replacement. So this is the next formal step in nailing down the dotting the I's, crossing the T's, getting an agreement in place with the state so we can continue on with the project.
I'd like to make the motion. I'd move to approve the American Rescue Plan State Revolving Fund Grant Agreement between the Chartered Township of Union and State of Michigan, EGLE, for the completion of water main, lead service line replacement, LR program items, water treatment plant upgrades, and source water activities in the amount of $10,985,000, and naming Kim Smith, Public Services Director, as the grant representative.
Support.
We have a motion in support. Is there any discussion? Is this a roll call?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Kim, it's a big deal. Good job. Big deal. I hope our residents are watching. This is a big deal.
Yes.
Are you ready for this? You got manpower and everything's ready to go? Good. Yeah, awesome. Well,
It'll be a busy time.
mm-hmm.
Lot going on, but
You bet. Well, looks like hopefully you can get your hands all around that, and I'm sure you will, and it's a big deal.
Very exciting.
Congratulations.
Yeah, I'm proud of you
Congratulations, yeah.
and Gordy Frazier also for getting that together and convincing the state that we need the money.
This is exceptional for Union Township.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good thing for the users of the system.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. This is a big deal.
Okay, I believe this is a roll call. Will you take the roll, please? Clerk Cody?
Treasurer Rice,
Yes.
Trustee Bills,
Yes.
Trustee Brown,
Absolutely.
Trustee Smith,
Yes.
Trustee Thering,
Yes.
Clerk Cody, yes. All yeses.
Motion carries. Thank you very much. The last thing on the new business is the Board of Trustees Policy Governance 3.3 Board Members Code of Conduct. So this is,
This is for the board to review. It's policy 3.3, Board Members Code of Conduct. There's a report for your convenience on page 68 of your agenda packet. At its highest level, the policy states that the board commits itself and its members to ethical, businesslike, and lawful conduct, including proper use of authority and appropriate decorum when acting as board members. The entire policy is in your packet, and this is an opportunity for the board to review your compliance with your own policy.
does the board wish to have any comments on this policy?
I think we are pretty good at it.
I think we're exceptional.
Oh, okay. No. I think we're doing a pretty good job of maintaining decorum and following the rules and staying out of the weeds. So,
Yes.
Very respectful board,
yes.
very respectful.
Then number 2, if we found that we weren't in compliance, we would answer that, but then we go on to 3. How do you think the board could improve the process to be in full compliance? I think we feel that we are in full compliance. Is
Yes.
that understood?
I
And
do.
what does the board need to learn or discuss in order to live by its policies more completely? Is there anything that we think we could do better on that, or?
I think communication works well for us. Communication, we keep improving on communication between board members and staff. I think it works excellent.
Yeah.
Any other comments, discussion? Okay, if not, we will move on to extended public comment at 7:36. We will open it up, restricted to 5 minutes regarding any issue at this time. So if anybody wishes to comment, is there anybody online? Nobody's online? No. Okay, we will close extended public comment at 7:36. Next up, manager's comments.
Thank you, and I just have 2. The second annual Care Store donation drive concluded earlier this month. A lot of fun doing it, and I just want to commend and recognize both Amy and Tara for their leadership in making this happen. Also, although I've provided you an earlier email on this publicly, I want to announce that Mr. Andy Fussman has been promoted into the newly created position of Assistant Wastewater Treatment Plant Superintendent. I went out and congratulated him personally last week. He's very excited. We're very excited, and look forward to working with Mr. Fussman in his new role. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great job on that.
Yes. Andy, I think it was a very good selection. I think that was congratulations to him.
Hard to get a certification.
That's very impressive.
I like to see promotion from within,
Yeah.
somebody taking the opportunity to improve themselves, and not only improve themselves but the township.
And especially when you see other wastewater plants, they're struggling to find people with those certifications, and you got the program set up internally that people can just, go through the ranks internally. That's awesome.
And I think it reflects well on the manager to have the foresight to create that position so that we could secure
Yeah.
somebody for a backup.
Yeah.
And if we're giving out kudos to former manager Smith for getting that licensing program in place and the collective bargaining agreements to create these opportunities.
Thank you, Mr. Smith.
Yes.
For sure. And guess what? We all get to live here.
Yeah. Number 14, final board member comments. Trustee Thering.
None, thank you.
Clerk Cody, Treasurer Rice.
Nothing.
Trustee
Oh, have a
Perez.
wonderful Easter weekend.
Oh, very
How about
nice.
that?
Well, I would like to just comment that, spring was supposed to be here last week. And in light of the fact that it isn't, at least we have the NCAA tournaments to watch, and so to keep us busy and inside nice and toasty warm. Just to announce to the public, I won't be seeking re-election, so if anybody's interested in this job, feel free to reach out, and I can help them decide whether that might be a good fit for them. The application deadline is sometime in April. That's all.
Thank you. Trustee Brown.
Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to lift up one more, the American Rescue Plan. I believe you're gonna get a billboard put out front.
Yeah.
It's coming to Union Township. Just wanted to say outstanding job. I wanted to lift that up one more time, how big a deal that really is here for Union Township. And, we get to live here. This is a good place. Thank you. That's it for me.
My comments are is that, with what's going on in the county, yes, the township and everything is running wonderfully, but what's going on at the county affects us all. So I would encourage people to at least maybe watch it online, see what's going on. Next meeting is April. I think in the next couple months, you're going to see a lot of activity, a lot of tough decisions being made. So I would highly recommend you at least try to watch it online if you can. So that way, if they do go for an additional law enforcement millage or they don't, you kind of know the thought process going in behind it instead of just reading it. You kind of hear what their actual thoughts are. So that'd be my final comment is, just to stay active in what's going on at the county.
Thank you for that.
So that's all I have. We have
Oh, I move to adjourn.
a
Support.
motion and support. All in favor, say aye.
Hi.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Look at there.
And I apologize for my stumbling at the beginning of the meeting. I was just kind
I
of,
do. Before anybody leaves, in the beginning, I missed, who made the motion and second for the agenda approval?
I did.
Motion, support.
Thank you.
We said it at the same time, but you can give it to
Okay.
him.
Give it to us.
You can
Thank-
give it to him.
I